All right, we're almost at starting time. So we're gonna have Duncan Kirkwood, which is amazing at kind of getting a party started, even via Zoom. So he'll pop in just a minute, you know, give you a good little wake up call. So thank you, Duncan.
I'm here. Would you like me to go ahead and get started now?
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right. Good morning. Well, it's afternoon now. Good afternoon, everyone. I literally just made it in time. I mean, just barely. Of course, you know, when you're rushing, the food place is running late. So they're like 20 minutes backed up. That's how life goes, right? You just got to keep rolling with it. So good morning. Good morning. I'm so happy to be here with Pass On Enterprise Center, as well as their incredible presenters and trainers that they've got for you all. Thank you all and welcome to Money Talks. This is a series about personal finance. You got to get your personal stuff together before you got to get your business stuff together. And so they're giving you great skills and tips for that. So to get us going, like I said on the other call I was on, a lot of times we can physically be here without being here, right? Like we can physically be here, but our mind is somewhere else. So we want to get you guys to be present, be here with us. So we'll do a little icebreaker. Again, they are recording it, so if you're not comfortable being on camera, then don't be on camera. But if you cool, we would love to see your faces so we can see the smiles, the energy. Let me just tell you, as a presenter, it is very difficult to talk to a black screen full of a bunch of names and no faces. Okay, so we know everybody's quarantined, chilling. I've got the button up top and flip flops on and sweatpants down in the bottom half, so it's okay to be comfortable. Yahira, can you make me the host for a minute as we go through this activity?
Yeah, sure. Give me one. Actually, bear with me 1 second.
Okay. And so this is going to be really quick, you all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you all, we're going to together, once I share my screen, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and we're going to read these 3 phrases together. We're going to just read them out loud. So everybody out loud is going to read these 3 phrases. You're going to read the first triangle, the second triangle, the third triangle, and then I'm going to stop sharing my screen and ask you a question about it. All right, real simple, easy breezy, great way to kind of start the energy. So just so we're clear, I'm going to just share my screen once Yahira transfers the hosting privileges to me. Oh, there it is.
There you go.
So I'm going to share my screen and then we'll go read the first one, second one, third one. Is everybody with me? Can I get like some thumbs up? Can I get, I think somebody else is sharing their screen too. Is that happening right now, Yahira?
Yeah, that would be me here. I'm gonna pause my screen so you can go ahead and do your thing.
Okay.
All right. Does that work now?
No, I still see like the Money Talks logo happening. It's okay, we'll get there. We're gonna figure it out.
Good.
Oh, I see Kevin turned his camera on. What's happening, Kevin?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, brother. Mr. Ortiz, I see you came alive. Okay. Waiting for Miss Panchel. Lisa, Sarah, Wendy, come on now. Mom, whoever's mom, Courtney. If you got a bonnet on, a scarf, a do-rag, listen, it's all good. We live in a quarantine life. All that, those old days are past, okay? So whatever, anything goes now. All right, cool. So I've got that. All right, so here we go. We're going to read this out loud. So if everybody could come off of mute, unless there's like an exorbitant amount of noise where you are, but if everybody could just come off of mute, I'm going to share my screen, and I'd like everybody to read this out loud. Okay, looks like almost everybody's off mute. All right, so we'll go ahead. So get ready. We're going to do this quickly. All right. All right, here we go. Boom, sharing my screen. All right, read the first one. Go. Paris in.
I don't see anything.
I don't hear y'all. Read out loud.
You don't see anything.
We don't see anything.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say. Okay, let's try that again. Oh, it says whiteboard. I don't know what happened there. Okay. Hold up. Let's try. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, go.
Paris in the spring.
The hand.
Month
Once in a life.
Okay. Bam. Everybody read that, right? We all read that together. Thank you for bearing with me on the screen here. I don't know why that was acting funky. Okay, so the first triangle. Who thinks the first triangle says Paris in the spring? Raise your hand. All right, we all read that together. The second triangle. Who thinks that the second triangle says bird in the hand? Raise your hand. We all read that together. Sorry, I'm admitting people too here. Okay, the third triangle. Who thinks that it says once in a lifetime? Raise your hand. Okay. None of those triangles said that. Okay. Not a single one of you are correct who said that that's what those triangles said. None of them said that.
There's no triangle.
No, there was 3 triangles. I'm going to share my screen again, and I want you to read it again, but I want you to take your time this time. All right, get ready here. Here we go. Boom. Can you see?
Yeah.
Now, what does this first triangle say, Kevin?
Paris in the spring.
Okay, hold up. Try it again, Kevin. Take your time. Read it. Don't read it real slow.
Paris in the spring.
There we go. Virgie, what does the second triangle say?
Birds and the hen.
That's right. Yep.
Oh my God.
Let me see who we got. Sarah, what does this third triangle say?
Once in a lifetime.
No, it does
In
not say.
a lifetime.
There we go, Sarah. All right. Okay, so the reason we do this is 2 things. Number 1, we want you to be present, right? We want you to be here. Don't just be physically here, listen, but actually give your attention and focus. Number 2, don't skim, assume, halfway listen, halfway read. We got experts here to give us some bomb information, y'all. We got bomb information, but you can't miss it. So you got to pay attention to every detail. Take your time, let it register, take notes, actually focus, okay? Focusing is one of the hardest things there is to do. So you got to do it and do it without assuming. The reason most people get that wrong is because our mind sees Paris in the and spring, and they fill in the other details. Your mind just saw Paris, the spring, and your mind just filled in the details, right? So you missed something. It's that easy to miss something. Your mind saw once in and lifetime, and your mind was like, oh, once in a lifetime. That's just how it works. So in order for you to get all the details, you can't just be making these assumptions and letting your mind think you know stuff. No, just actually be present, be open, take your time, take it in. And with that, I'll kick it back over to you, Yahira. And again, thank you all for being here. You're going to get some great information. And let's get into the workshop. Go ahead, Yahira.
All right. Thank you so much, Duncan. Let me see if I can bring this screen back up here, folks, so you can see the presentation. All right. Does everyone see that? I hope so, because I can't see the chat box. All right, perfect. So my name is Jahaira Zapata. I am one of the business development officers at Pastone Enterprise Center here in Buffalo. I'm so thrilled to bring you, the series Money Talks. We are now halfway through the series. We have amazing presenters, that kind of created this series. And it's all thanks to our sponsors at KeyBank and 5 Star Bank. So as you can see from the screen here, this is a 4-part virtual workshop series on personal finance and credit, organization and routines, financial independence, being your own boss. And I continuously emphasize this, leaving a legacy for your family and your community, right? Because that's why many people go into being an entrepreneur, right? They want to have the freedom, not just for themselves, but for their family. What are you leaving behind for the people to come? So that being said, I will kick it over to our presenters. We have David Kraus of New Level Strategies and Letitia Harris, Officer of Financial Jeopardy. Go ahead, folks.
I'm David Kraus. As Jahida said, I'm a partner with New Level Strategies. We've been in business for 4 years, and we celebrated our 4-year anniversary just this month. Woohoo! So I'm really happy to be here. Thank you very much for everyone attending. And we're real excited about today's presentation.
Yes, thank you everyone for sticking with us. This is workshop 3. I am Letitia Harris Officer, founder of Financial Longevity. And, where financial education equals longevity. Today, next slide, please. We are going to discuss how to get and stay organized, integrating technology into your routine, and money and finance mindset. Next slide, please.
Is it showing up on your end? Sorry, it shows up on my end.
Oh, that's okay. So before we get into the workshop, we're just gonna, tax deadline just ended July 15th. And for most entrepreneurs, we know that taxes are a quarterly thing. So we're briefly gonna discuss some things with tax, and then we'll get into the workshop itself. So what do you bring to your tax preparer? David?
Well, you bring you. That sounds obvious, but the tax preparer needs to know you are who you are. That's kind of obvious if you have a long-standing relationship with somebody that prepares your taxes. But if you're going to somebody new, you would bring identifying documents like your driver's license or a passport, social security cards. They're required to take copies of that information and have that on file. And it's been recommended that you bring a blank check because you might be able to pay what you owe on the spot, or you can provide bank info to the preparer for a refund. So those are all the things about you that you would bring. You can go to the next slide.
Right. So what do you bring your tax preparer, David?
Yeah, there's two parts to the tax return, and I'm the one CPA in Western New York who doesn't do taxes, so you're just going to have to bear with me on this. But on the income side, you want to bring anything that documents any kind of income you made. So that would be W-2s, which are your wage and salary income statements from your employer, 1099s, and you can get 1099s for a variety of reasons, from bank accounts providing you interest income, from investments that are going to provide you dividend income. They all have a little moniker on the end of that 1099. 1099G, there's retirement income, et cetera, et cetera. If you get some miscellaneous income from some source, it might come on a 1099 miscellaneous, MISC. If you have any rental income, you want to bring that documentation because that's income into your pocket that you have to declare. And just a little thing to keep in mind, someone who pays you for services, if it's less than $600 for the year, they're not required to report that to the government, but that threshold does apply to you, the recipient. So it's not like that's just free money. You are required to pay tax on that. So next slide.
So what else do you bring your tax preparer, David?
Yeah, the other half would be just on the expense side. And the tax law is a moving target. It's gotten a lot more interesting in the last year and a half with all the tax law changes and then this year's shifting deadlines. But some of the traditional expense items that you would bring historically would be childcare expenses, medical expenses. If you moved, your moving expenses may be deductible. Not all of these can work to your benefit in all cases, but if you have them, you want to save them and be prepared for the eventuality that you might actually get a tax benefit or a credit or a deduction. Any charitable contribution paperwork, receipt support, statements from the nonprofit that you contributed to, and 1098's another form number. You get these for a variety of reasons. Mortgage interest is a biggie, student loan interest, etc. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to drop anything in the chat or feel free to interrupt us that way. That just makes for a more engaging experience for all of us.
Right. Next slide. What additional docs do you need if you're a business owner, David?
Yeah. Now, all of us, many of us on this call are either business owners or you have a business idea, and we're going to hear a little bit more about that later on hopefully from you all. But you want to provide and save this information and then bring to your tax preparer, assuming you're not preparing your taxes yourself, business use of your vehicle. And that would be the documentation, to and from, the number of miles, what was the business purpose of that travel. If you're selling services, you would have client invoices, sales records. Financial statements might be requested by that preparer so they can kind of tie it together and see what they're dealing with. That would be a profit and loss and a balance sheet at minimum. Receipts for expenses like meals and entertainment. Some of the laws have changed on that in the last couple of years, but there's still deductions available for business meals to a certain threshold. Home office expenses. This one makes my head spin because of the hoops you have to jump through if you're in a certain type of business structure like we are at New Level Strategies. But if you're a solo entrepreneur working out of your home office, you would at bare minimum need the size of your office, the square footage of your home, and then the preparer would do a calculation as to what your home office deduction might be. And you want to bring your EIN, which is your employer identification number. And so having last year's return available might also help. So next slide.
Is there anything else stated?
Well, I recommend you reach out to that preparer and ask, what do they want you to bring? Because they're doing a job on your behalf. And there's no such thing as a stupid question. If you don't know, ask. I would ask if I had somebody preparing my taxes. And ideally, they would send you an email perhaps. And here's a checklist of the things you want to bring to the appointment so that they have all of the information that they need to do their job on your behalf.
So we have a question. It says, can you also bring receipts for tools that you have bought for your job, even if you aren't the business owner?
Again, I'm not a tax expert, but my advice would be to bring that information and let the preparer of your return make that call.
Good
Because
question.
there are certain expenses as an employee that if you're not reimbursed from your company, there are some, like I know uniforms sometimes enter into that. So there may be an angle there. And if you make in-kind donations, this is another thing I wanted to point out. If you make in-kind donations to a not-for-profit, document that and bring that to your preparer.
Thank you. So it is spotlight time. We are going to briefly give everyone an opportunity to tell us a little bit about your business or your business idea. And you can type that information in the chat. We're going to give a chance to 3 people to actually come off mute and, give us the elevator speech. So please either give us a thumbs up or raise your hand, and then we'll select you to get underneath the spotlight. Okay, no one wants to talk about their business? This is free advertisement.
Don't be shy, folks. This is your chance. We want to hear about it.
Okay, we have someone who raised their hand here. You can come off mute.
Kiana, would you like to come off mute?
Sure, hi. So my business idea is a kids fitness center. I kind of wanted to be like a Baby Bally's. Everything that adults can do at their fitness center, the kids would be able to do. As of now, we have a lot of centers that are in Buffalo that are geared towards more early childhood development, starting at about 6 months of age. So they do like soft play and things like that. So we want to integrate it with what the parents are doing. kind of mimic those same activities on a kid's level. My motto is healthy kids make healthy adults. So if we start early on meal prep and, meal planning with the proper diet and exercise, I think that we could, form a new generation of healthy eaters and, things like that.
Thank you for sharing. I think that is a wonderful idea.
Thank
That's
you.
Excellent.
Okay. Does anyone else want to share? Business ideas or, your current business if you are a business owner.
We do have, it looks like Lisa Rickman. So she's sitting in on behalf of the Yards Art Collective. Maybe Lisa, you want to tell us a little bit about the Yards Art Collective? I know being an artist is definitely one of the struggling moments of entrepreneurs. So give us a little bit on that art side.
Well, we focus on trying to bring more accessibility to artists in Rochester. It can be really hard to break into the art scene for a lot of working artists. So we provide a lot of classes and resources for emerging artists and working artists. We also just started a teen mentorship program that's been really great. And this fall, we're going to be doing the second round of that. Yeah, that's pretty much what we do.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right, anyone else? There's plenty of people on this call. You might as well get that free advertising going.
Jahida, you have your own small business, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Maybe you
So
could show
folks, when I'm not working at a Pastone Enterprise Center, I actually have a background in graphic design. So what my company does is we focus on branding and web design with a focus on UX. So what that means is we look into the research to understand the consumers, right? So their behaviors, we look to not only design for the client, right? But we want to make sure that we're actually looking at who are going to be the client's clients, right? Because sometimes what people want to do is they say, well, I like pink, right? And that's fine. That may be your favorite color. But if your business is, trying to portray something else where pink doesn't really relate, then you're going to lose people, right? That connection is not going to be there. So that's why we focus on really understanding the research behind the design. So the idea is to make sure that you're positioning yourself in a way that you're getting clients, that you're getting business. It's not just a one-off situation. So that's my business, and it's As One Studio.
Thank you for sharing. We will have more time throughout the workshop if you warm up to the idea to share about your business. So don't, fear on that matter, because we'll have more time coming up. So next slide. So now we're going to get into the workshop. How to get and stay organized is the first topic. Next slide, please. Okay, so how do you organize your information? Please comment in the chat and share some of your organization methods. I know for me, I have a DBA business as well as a LLC, and for my DBA business, I use PayPal for invoicing. It's actually great. They create the whole invoice for you. You input the data, they keep the spreadsheets. David, what are some of the ways that you organize your information?
We try to do as much electronically as possible, save scans of everything and eliminate as much paper as we can. But we have paper files for our business and our personal finances. And that plus the digital side that's that's how we try to keep it all straight.
Yeah, I have 2 file cabinets at home, and everyone in my family laughs at me because I have file cabinets. They're like, at home? I'm like, I have to file stuff. Like,
Yeah. You just can't escape the paper yet, right? We still
Right.
have some of it. Yeah.
Okay, I see some comments in the chat. Spreadsheets. Some people are doing both digital and hard copy with the file cabinets as well. Label, file folders, spreadsheets. Someone has plastic. Oh, with the plastic hanging file bin. Yes. Okay, all great. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. Next slide, please. So, getting organized. Tip 1. David.
Yeah, and some of the responses show that, people are juggling both digital and paper. That's kind of almost unavoidable. So, but we all maybe prefer one or the other. So your interests are probably going to go in that direction. But if you're more comfortable with paper, that's fine. One idea might be you could save your expenses, your paperwork, your receipts, your income documents in month-specific folders so that you would build it out over the course of the year, and then you'd have it ready for your taxes or sitting down and looking at your budget or your expenses. If you're digital, maybe you're scanning those documents and using spreadsheets, as I've seen some folks indicate they do. Save them to your computer, save them to the cloud, some cloud account, organize those scans maybe in the same way by month. That seems to work well for us. So next slide.
Getting organized. Tip 2. David.
Yeah, I mean, don't overthink it. That's what we're trying to stress. Do what works for you, because whatever you do is going to be the right answer for you. Everyone maybe is going to have a slightly different take on this. What's the best system? Best system is whatever works best for you. Business receipts, you want to think about maybe client-specific folders depending on your volume. If you engage in service contracts with clients, you're going to have a lot more paper. So you might want to give an entire client their folder. We work with a lot of nonprofit clients, and the grant paperwork is voluminous, I guess you could say. So we have massive folders reflecting those grant contracts. Bank statements, financial statements, tax returns, corporate filings. You want to look at how much volume you have, but at least you want to separate those from the day-to-day receipts so you can get at them more readily based on the information that's on them.
Right, and just pretty much think about what your goal is. If you're, say, preparing to buy a house, you know that they're going to want the last 3 years of your tax statement. So if you're already organized, it's going to be easy for you to pull these items out. So it won't even just be for business. It could be for yourself personally. When you're purchasing a home, you're going to need your bank statement. So having all of these items organized and ready to go is easier, whatever you're trying to do, whether business or personal. Next slide, please. Okay, getting organized. Tip 3, David.
Yeah, no, this is a biggie for all us business owners. We don't want to have a bank account that mixes personal and business. It's too messy. You can't analyze your business. You can't sit down with, God forbid, a tax auditor. You can't sit down with a lender or an investor and easily make sense of your transactions, your business history, without having a bank account that's exclusively for your business. So just don't mix personal in there to the extent that you can. It'll make tax time a lot easier for you and your tax person as well.
Right, and just that separation, depending on what type of business you have, it is imperative that you do not commingle funds. In some situations, if you say you have an LLC and then you're using it as your personal account, you will have issues with your business later on if you're ever sued or if there's any issues with the money. So you want to definitely keep your accounts separate. And even if you're just starting out, a lot of people don't know, if you have a DBA, which you can go to City Hall, it's $40. you can get a bank account with a DBA. You don't have to already have the LLC. You can later transfer it. But you just want to review different banks to see if there's going to be fees and if it's feasible. Next slide.
That's a great point about the liability that you brought out, Letitia. That's really important. Yeah.
Okay, are you guys still watching? So how
We hope so.
right.
Oh, Letitia, you froze.
Oh no.
Oh, there you go. You're back.
You're back. You're back.
So how do you stay organized? Please comment in the chat some of the ways that you guys stay organized.
There's a
Sorry.
there's an entrepreneur. No, it's okay. There's a small business owner here in town who's a property manager, and I was so impressed. I met with him sometime last year, and his organizational system amounted to a lot of digital, where he would scan the paperwork related to the property owner's contract with him, any tenant information he had to keep, all that. So he had a very elaborate, organized scan system of named files and folders, which I saw someone comment in the chat window that's one of the things they do. But to couple that, to manage those properties, and this isn't financial management, this is just, okay, how is he managing the information related to that business? He had a whiteboard, a color-coded whiteboard on his wall that was beautiful. I mean, it had all the information, all the detail he needed to manage dozens and dozens of properties. And he knew it backwards and forwards. It was really interesting. And that worked for him. And he could easily answer a question very quickly with that system in place.
Okay, we got some people sharing that they're using, Office Suites, spreadsheets, folders, of course, with things, date and time. Kind of just in regards to what David mentioned, with the technology nowadays, there are a lot of things that will help you keep track of these items. I'm old fashioned. I have everything that is digital. I have it in paper too, because I just don't completely.
I'm like you. Yeah,
but but at the same time, I love the digital, having it there. Like I can take it with me on my phone, but at home or in the office, it's in the paper form too. But there's some great apps. I know Mile IQ, going back to what we talked about, the mileage. It'll separate the business and the personal trips for you, and it'll create the spreadsheets. If you have any properties, I know there's an app that I use called Stressa, which separates each property and different things, and it sends you reminders. So really just, there's so many more out there, and these are not endorsements of anything. It's just, examples of what's out there. But, take a look and see, there's so many digital things that can help you. So I will look into that as well.
Awesome. In the meantime, I just want to say to you folks again, I know I mentioned this in the beginning, but congratulations, you have made it halfway through this series. Again, very important information for you to be kind of gathering. And these folks are always here to help. So, if you have any questions, even if you're not warmed up to the idea of, maybe speaking it out loud, go ahead and type it in the chat. And we definitely expect to see you in the next session. So we can go ahead.
Right. And if anyone's joining us and you missed the first two workshops, they're available on YouTube underneath the Biz Up Buffalo webpage. And the first session was on personal finance. The second one was on credit, which you can check those out if you did miss it and you're joining us just now. And everyone who's been sticking with us since the beginning, thank you. And looking forward to, ending with a bang next week. So, but we're going to get further in here. Just getting organized involves developing a routine. David?
Yeah, routine's the big word here. So you got to develop that routine, and then you got to stick with it, which I think is easier said than done sometimes. But there's no perfect answer. There's no perfect routine. Again, I'm harping on this, but whatever works best for you is the best routine, provided that you can get at information quickly and easily, that your paper is kind of under control, all that kind of good stuff. So, I mean, the more time you invest in developing the routine and spending time during your day or week maintaining it, maintaining your information, you're gonna take stress off your plate later on. You're gonna save yourself money and time later on. It's all worthwhile. It almost goes without saying, but your routines also got to involve maintaining that budget that you prepared, keeping an eye on it, reconciling your accounts, all of your accounts, credit card, your bank accounts, personal and business. Keep your checkbook balanced. That's your first step.
Definitely. And I'm like a bookworm, so organizing and developing a routine. There's so many great books out there that you can look into that will, talk about this topic. I know for me, sticking to a routine is having a planner. All my family and friends joke because I still have an actual planner, like a book planner. And just sticking to that, trying to stick to that schedule, even though I have it digital too. So, but routines are important. They help you stick to your goals. And for anyone who didn't see, the link for the YouTube is in the chat as well. Thank you for sharing that. So getting organized involves developing a routine. David?
Yeah, and we touched on some of these a little bit earlier, but again, our first session was about budget, building out a budget, and then maintaining it and keeping that forecast over time and seeing how your forecasts improve as you track your expenses. So you want to do that. That's part of your routine. You want to reconcile your accounts, balance your checking account. You got to be on the lookout for fraud more and more every day, every week. Everyone probably on this Zoom meeting has probably been touched by fraud in some way or another. So you gotta have a window into your account and see what's hitting it. Because if it's not you, then you gotta take action. And last week we talked about credit, pulling your credit reports and challenging the information on those credit reports is really, really important on a regular basis.
Right. And for anyone who did sign up in the last session for the free credit audit, our rep through Pathstone, Adam, will be reaching out to you if he has not already reached out, just to schedule that. And anyone preparing for that, you want to make sure that you do have your credit reports pulled, which you can do for free at annualcreditreport.com as well. All right, next slide. Yeah,
we got a couple of comments in the chat I wanted to pull out. Franklin Covey planners have been noted as, some of you folks like that. That's a great way to get organized, using that type of planner like Letitia showed a little while ago. Someone mentioned they use Google Drive pretty frequently. We make pretty extensive use of that. I think with a free Gmail account or a free Google account, you have up to 15 gigabytes of free drive storage. We couldn't survive without Google Drive these days in our business. So again, not an endorsement. These are just ideas.
Right. I've gone through you wouldn't even believe how every year I have a different planner. Sometimes I have two planners a year, but the one I have now is through Agendo, and you get to create it, customize it. But I've also used Commit 30, which they have like commitment challenges each month. So I thought that was great too. But thank you for sharing, whoever shared that about the other plan. I'm going to actually look into that one. I've never heard of it.
Since we're talking about digital as well, I just wanted to note that you should have a backup of your data. Maybe I'm a case in point as to what happens if you don't have a good backup. When my computer fried about 1.5 years ago, so we take it all the way to a backup disk, and we'll bring it down to the bank and put it in the safe deposit box we rent for our business, because you can never be too sure that that's not going to jump up and bite you, and you don't want to lose your work or your clients' work.
Definitely agree. Just previous slide, just some other things that to touch on as far as integrating technology into your routine. David, you want to talk more about this?
Yes. Now, again, we're not endorsing any of these products, but do a little research and find an app that is makes the most sense for you. If you want to use a personal finance app, a couple of these have popped up. If you don't want to use spreadsheets, which are free, Mint seems to be fairly respected. You Need a Budget is another one. A lot of these, the whole idea with these is they'll connect to your bank accounts, so you can maintain your income and your expenses and your balances on your phone, ideally. So some of these are free, some aren't.
Okay, so there was a couple comments in the chat here. Someone mentioned just that a great thing about Google is that it backs up always and it's always available, which is a great point. And then we had a question. David, do you recommend we share with a trusted source where we have our financial data in an event of an emergency?
Absolutely. I was a trustee for my dad's estate a few years ago, and he kept a lot of notes, and it made my life. This is just one example of why you would need to be able to communicate that to some trusted source, a family member or a loved one. Conversely, my sister's father-in-law, he's not keeping any notes, and she just sees a train coming down the tracks there. So you definitely want to communicate that information so that someone can get into your accounts that might be locked up for months or whatever. So yes, Letitia, what do you have to say about that?
Right, I definitely agree. I'm already having conversations with my children, and they're still teenagers, about just having that, because I've had situations where loved ones passed away and they were not prepared at all. And some bank accounts you can add, someone to it as like a time of death, so it makes it even easier. They don't even need the information, they just have access to that account. And there's a lot of other things. So I was, said research, because if you seek it, you're going to find it. And the more you look into these things, the more information is available. But that was a great question. Thank you for sharing that.
Excellent question.
Someone mentioned about organization for Dropbox. That's definitely a great free tool. These are all great. Thank you.
Good input. Thank you, folks.
Okay, so like we mentioned earlier, it's spotlight time. Is there anyone who wants to tell us a little bit about their business? You can thumbs up, raise it in the hand, come off mute. Don't be shy.
Elevator speech time. Can be just an idea.
Yep, or a business idea.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They might be building up their courage for the end, I'm hoping.
Well, Well, we have someone warming up there. I think we can go ahead and call on Adam because he's the other business development officer at Pastone here in Buffalo. But he, as well as a lot of you, is an entrepreneur. So I guess, Adam, tell us about your business or the idea.
Yeah, thank you. Like Jahida, I love work so much. I just can't get enough of it. So after 5 or 6 o'clock, I work on my own business, and the new business is called DudeWise. It's a website, dudewise.com. And it's a place where kind of younger guys can go and read about current events and also learn how to relax. I think that there's an epidemic in this country of people who, especially young people who don't know how to relax, and there's a lot of anxiety and stress in the world. So this is a place where they can come and just see different meditation techniques and look at different types of, get reviews on different music and movies. And we also have a podcast that's launching that talks about, guys of, around my age, I'm almost 30, and our mental health and how we struggle with that and how we cope with that within our own friend groups.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam.
Very valuable.
It looks like we had Bergie came off of mute. Are you gonna share?
Oh, yes. I have a commercial cleaning business. I'm a franchise owner under Coverall. And I've been in business now for 2 years, but I see that I am making errors in the business. So that's why I am on here. I'm still learning in the process, but we clean medical buildings. And my goal is to eventually get contracts cleaning area hospitals.
Oh, okay, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Letitia. Who was just speaking?
Bergie Adams is listed.
Yes.
Can you, my name is Dion. If you look in the chat, you can find my name and send me a private message with your contact information, please.
Okay. Also, if you don't want to share your business website. That would be awesome if you want to drop that in the chat box. I know we had someone who said that their mic wasn't working.
Yeah, that was Lathanette.
Yeah. Are we able to unmute her, or is it just her mic on her phone?
Let's try.
While you're doing that, Virgie, we're all still learning. Every one of us. That's all we do every day as business owners. So
the best way to learn is on the job. So you're not alone on that one.
All right, Lathanette. Okay, so it looks like you're unmuted now. Hopefully we can hear you. No, maybe not. Okay. All right. So we're gonna read about Lathanette's business in the chat, and it looks like she's having some trouble with her mic, unfortunately. But thank you for joining, and definitely let us know about your business in the chat. Again, folks, networking is key. I am one person I can tell you that has never been my strong suit. I'm pretty good at talking to people if they come to me first and say hi, but I'm not really, it may look different this way, but I'm not usually the type of person to kind of go up to people and kind of break the ice, so to speak. But when you're in business, you have to do that, right? And it's not necessarily that you're selling someone, but you may meet someone that can help you with your business, or that you can help them with theirs. The idea is that you want to make sure that you're creating a network of people around you that can help you, like whether it's business-wise, whether it's just having someone positive to speak to, right? Like we need optimistic people around us, because being a business owner is not always easy. When you're on your highs, you're in your highs, but like not everyone sees the lows. So again, folks feel free, network, talk to each other, ask questions. That's really what we want you to get out of this.
Right. I think we have another TA provider on the line. Michael McCarley, do you want to share? Is he unmuted?
He is on mute. Let me see. Hopefully it'll unmute. No. All right. Not sure.
Okay. It looks like Lathanet shared in the chat that she has a USA Occupational Services, your leading drug and alcohol testing service provider. Wow, that is great. They do. They just added DNA, cheating, fingerprinting, immigration testing, child drug abuse testing, and some mental health counseling. And they're focusing on communities in the East Side. That is awesome. We need that. Thank you for sharing. Let's see. Okay. So we'll give everyone a chance a little later to also, some more people to share about their business and get under the spotlight, or even share their business idea. So we're going to move on to the next slide. Okay, so integrating technology into your business finances. David?
Yeah, there's here what we're trying to stress is that the need is greater for you to track your business finances with some sort of an application. It could be on your phone or in your desktop computer or whatever. But there's a lot of reasons for that we'll see on the next slide. But some of them are free, some aren't. You got to do your shopping, and my advice would be to talk to somebody who's used a product and get that feedback as well. And that'll help you make the most informed decision.
Right, nothing's better than a personal referral. So that's why,
Absolutely.
like Yahara stated, networking is important because then you get to find out what other people are doing.
Correct. Yep.
Next slide.
There's a lot of needs. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
Okay. There's a lot of needs. We would say that that make it worth your while to track your business finances with some sort of an application, a software application, accounting application. You get to keep track of who's paid you and who hasn't. Cash flow is king. And if you don't know what invoices haven't been paid, then it's just a lot more difficult unless it's computerized in some professional software. It's going to be a lot easier for your tax preparation time. Make your estimated tax payments. Like Letitia pointed out, those are quarterly obligations as business owners. To give your business a more professional face. So you'll be able to generate invoices and statements and financial statements for a lender or a potential investor or an interested party, somebody who wants to do business with you. They want to see your financials. You get to track your expenses by category, customer, line of business. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, category would be like salaries versus insurance versus utilities, the accounts. Customer, we know who our customers are. Line of business, if you're running a construction company and you have a commercial side and a residential side, maybe you want to be able to investigate the profitability of each of those lines of business. And you can divide up your expenses and your revenues along those lines if it suits you and if it's beneficial. And lastly, to just generate your financial statement so you can evaluate your business more fully. Your profit and loss, which is your revenues less your expenses for a period of time. Balance sheet is a point in time picture of your business finances. And lastly, you'd have a statement of cash flow. See, is your business generating cash or is it drawing cash out? So.
Right. And we had someone share, always get agreements in writing in case you have to prove someone owes you. That was a great share, because that is true. You definitely need that. Also, just the statements that David mentioned at the end, those are important if you're going to grow your business. If you're looking to present this information to a bank, they are going to ask you for these statements. So if you're not familiar with them, look them up. Like I said, research, so that you can be prepared when moving forward with your business.
Absolutely.
Okay, next slide. So what are some of the solutions, David?
Yeah, again, these are not endorsements, qualifiers, but these are some of the software programs that you would encounter if you did the research. Which accounting software should I use for my small business? QuickBooks has got a long track record. I have experience with these three. That's why I'm noting them. They all have their pros and cons, and the costs are slightly different, but it might just be a cost of doing business. So, but we invite anyone who has ideas about other applications, managing your business finances, how to go ahead and comment in the chat.
Yes, please share. I like QuickBooks, but if there's any others out there that anyone's using or is familiar with, please comment in the chat.
I could sing Jeopardy music, but that might turn everybody off.
One of the reasons that I like QuickBooks is it's able to integrate with my business bank account. So those are like some of the bonuses. So when you're researching these different services, try to see what the benefits are to you. Like I mentioned earlier, I use PayPal as well. And I pretty much, it's very user friendly. So there's just a lot of different resources, but try to find out what the benefits are. Okay, so someone had asked in the chat if there's any recommendations for legal business agreements. And then someone asked us to speak about the best time to transition from a DBA to a LLC. David, your thoughts on that?
I think I'd want to sit down and talk with the person and try to determine what the circumstances are, because I'm not sure there's a blanket answer that I feel comfortable giving.
Right. I mean, there's a number of reasons why when's the best time to do that. It's dependent on the person and what their benefits are for transitioning to that.
It looks like someone is asking, is there a reliable internet resource to research the best or latest softwares to use for your business?
Somebody read my mind because I was typing that while they were typing their question. There's two sources that I've been using for years, since these are computer applications. A couple of sources that have been around for a while and fairly respected are cnet.com and pcmag.com. So they do reviews of these types of products all the time. So.
Right, and someone shared, which it's a great share, thank you. The Small Business Western New York Law Center, they offer free legal advice. And they probably will be able to help, anyone thinking about switching from a DBA to an LLC. They can answer those questions, or even just preparing legal agreements. So you get some of the best lawyers in New York for free through that clinic. So thank you for sharing it. Someone actually shared the link in the chat as well.
John Donner would be your contact at the Western New York Law Center. So.
Okay, does anyone want to share their own personal experience with any type of business budgeting or finance apps?
Good or bad or ugly or both?
I would even add, if anyone hasn't had any experience with these apps, if you could maybe tell us why, like if you've just, been hesitant on trying a budgeting app, do you think you need it? Maybe you think you're organizing your finances appropriately, so you don't need an app. Just so we can get idea, like, why people are either using the apps or not using the apps.
See, you're gonna get me to make comments now.
There you are. I knew you'd come through at some point.
I was trying not to. How's everybody? I'm sorry, this has been a arduous day. Budgeting apps, overall finance apps, and some people may be willing to admit this, but I think one of the issues gets to be people just don't understand numbers. We can keep in our head, I made so much, I did so much, but they're not understanding the total system of revenues. They're not truly understanding what expenses are and are not. They don't really understand where they technically are supposed to go. They spend money and not sure that it's supposed to apply to the business. Maybe it's more personal, or you add things that quite honestly are not business related. And so therefore, in the latter portion of that, a reduction on the taxes. And finance apps, you got to understand the language and why certain things are actually in play. You go through a lot of effort trying to get individuals to actually understand just generally the numbers, what they are, what they do. And so I don't think, I mean, people would use as a quick example, QuickBooks. For what most people don't know is the fact that QuickBooks 6-7 years ago was very different to the QuickBooks that you see today. Because what they did was they created modules to make it easier for regular individuals to actually utilize QuickBooks itself. But I find people still putting the information in correctly. And so when they read it, they're not reading it correctly either. So it's kind of a tough deal for my particular piece. I think they're useful. I think they're definitely necessary. And I think everybody should use some type of assistance, some app to help them out in understanding what their business is and is not doing. Because no sense in you putting a bunch of numbers or having a bunch of numbers that you don't understand and you go show them to somebody else and they look at you and they start shaking their head. That doesn't work well. So that's my 5 piece and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you for sharing.
Good feedback.
And I know I shared a personal finance app. So if you don't have a business, something that we did mention previously is just that you want to get your personal finances in order so that you can prepare for whatever business idea that you have. You can use a spending tracker app. It's a little app that's free. It looks like a little brown wallet, and you can start tracking your expenses. Good old fashioned pen and paper. You get a budget together. We talked about budgeting in our first workshop, so if you missed that, check it out. Let's see here, we got some comments here.
Looks like some people are saying, the apps can get annoying, which is, again, to each his own, right? That's why we're curious, right? Not everyone is acceptable to using an app. Some people like to do it the traditional way, pen and paper, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think going based on what David said, what works for you, right? If you like to go the traditional route, then by all means do it, because you're the one who needs to understand your numbers at the end of the day. But if you feel like, you know, you could probably be more efficient with an app, then go ahead and try it. Like, there's no harm in trying the app. If you don't like it, then at least you tried it.
Right, process of elimination. And sometimes for some of us older people, when we didn't have computers and we had to start learning how to use computers, it was a learning curve, and now everyone loves computers. So I feel like apps are the same way. You may not like them in the beginning, but if you keep using them, you'll like them more and more that you use them.
And to Michael's point, when you decide that you need to go get an app to manage your business finances, one of the things you want to pay close attention to is what kind of support that software provider has available for you. Are there videos? Are there like modules that, like Michael mentioned? What does their website look like? How easy is it to ask a question on the website and get an answer? That'd be one thing you would do. And then find somebody like these sessions that Pastone and the generous sponsors of this series. We're trying to help educate you as to the terminology so that the climb up that initial hill isn't so great. So.
All right, we had some shares in the chat. Just 2 great scanning receipts apps are Neat and Shoebox. Thank you for sharing that.
It's very helpful. Yeah.
So mindset, money and finance mindset. Next slide, please. Mindset tip 1, David.
This is a lot easier said than done. We all do it, but particularly in the world of money and how we take care of our own money, try not to compare yourself to others. It doesn't get you anywhere. You have to focus on your own situation and your own set of goals.
Right, because everyone's starting from where they're starting at. So it's more beneficial to focus on your actual goal than what other people are doing. So what is your goal? How are you going to get to your goal? Compare yourself to, did you meet your benchmark to get to the next level? Are you taking the next steps? Everyone has the same 24 hours in the day. Are you investing at least an hour into yourself, at least an hour into your business? If you say you're a business owner and you didn't spend one minute every day on that, then, you know, are you going to reach that goal? So think about that. Next slide. Mindset tip number 2, David.
Yeah, large purchases, you can't treat them like a bag of potato chips. We got to sleep on those kinds of things. Don't treat it like an impulse buy.
Right.
Oftentimes that's a bad decision. Yeah.
Right. This is for personal or business. If you create this habit in your own personal life, it'll be 10 times easier once you actually have your business in place. So the rule of thumb used to be, if you can't afford 5 of it, don't buy it. Now it's, if you can't afford 11 of them, do not buy it. And you want to think about it when it comes to your business. Is this a necessity? Is this going to achieve the goal that I'm looking for? Is it a write-off? Balance all of those things out, but don't just make impulsive decisions. Next slide. Mindset tip number 3, David.
Pay yourself first. And what that means is you want to set aside money for savings and investments. At the same time, you're paying your monthly bills. So before you put money in the going out to eat budget, you got to eat, but maybe you don't have to go out 5 nights a week. You want to prioritize savings and investment funds and set asides at the same time you're paying those bills. That's as high a priority. And if you wait too long before you start saving for retirement, you will have to catch up. So
Definitely. And just going back to something that I mentioned earlier about being a bookworm, there is a great book called Profit First, which talks about paying yourself first and what that actually looks like. I put the information for the author in the chat. It's Mike. For those of you who are going to be watching this on YouTube, his last name is Michalowicz.
Connie has pointed out there's a lot of work that goes into manipulating the consumer into thinking we got to buy now. It's the whole concept of the advertising industry, which we have to be aware of that. You got to be aware of it.
Right.
Because you can get sucked in.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that. That is true. If you ever look at some of the businesses amount that they're spending on advertising and marketing, it's a reason that they're doing that. And that's the reason. So, all right, mindset tip number 4, David.
Yeah, so establish your goals, and those goals could be anything. It could be you want to buy a new car, you want to buy a house, you want to save money to get married, you want to start a business. So you want to establish your goals, and they're your goals, they're not your neighbor's goals, and regularly monitor progress towards them as you go.
Right. This is part of why I love having a planner. So I'll sit down and review my goals in October for the next year, and then I'll break down what I need to do to get to that goal based on each quarter. And then each quarter I'll break it down into each month. What's the one thing I can do to help me accomplish that goal by the end of the quarter? There was a research done by Harvard MBA, and this is based on the students that graduated in the Harvard program. I'm going to share the link to the article in the chat, but at the end of the time frame, the people who had created their goals and actually wrote them down and created a plan behind it, it was like 3% of them that actually did it. But the benefit of that is that they, unlike the other 97%, were making 10 times as much as everyone else. So creating a plan and moving towards it and actually writing it down, laying out how you're going to get to it is better than just, making the goal. And if you aren't at the point where you're just making the goal, first step is to get to that point where at least you're making a goal. And then the next step is to make a plan to go with the goal. But I'm going to share the article in the chat. Next slide. Okay, mindset tip number 5, educating yourself. David?
Yeah, I really like to end with this one because educating yourself is so important. I would recommend you read about money or investing or savings for at least an hour a week. And there's a lot of great sources out there, whether they're books or blogs or articles. And I've got some web sources here listed. Investopedia. Whenever you plug in a what is and you ask Google a question, and if it's a finance or economics or a money question, Investopedia comes up a lot. So they have a lot of definitional stuff. And dummies.com, I'm not embarrassed to say, I look at the dummy sites all the time. My bookshelf has all kinds of those yellow books because they explain things in normal language for all of us to understand. And it's really, very, really helpful. mymoney.gov, that's a federal government site that is based on, there's a Financial Literacy Act that was collaboration amongst 20 federal agencies, and that resulting site came out of that effort. There's a lot there about money and savings and investments and just good groundwork stuff. And the Khan Academy, we've all heard of that probably with the videos and the online learning. And so what we're trying to point out here is knowing something is really a lot less important than maybe having an idea about where to go and find out about it and teach yourself about it.
I would agree. There's this rule of thumb: to get to being an expert in your area, you want to get to the 10,000 hours. So I would say immerse yourself. If you don't have money to do what you want to do, the thing that you can do that is free is to educate yourself. And sometimes it's not just on, money or investing. Sometimes it's other people's personal experiences. I love reading millionaires' autobiographies and different books on how people overcame certain situations. So it's best to remember that even if you feel like you're at a disadvantage, there's always a period of time where someone was at a disadvantage and they still were able to achieve what they wanted to do. So education is the beginning of that. And I would just say, whatever your field is, you should be reading about that and immersing yourself in that. And then whatever your goals are, you should be immersing yourself in that information as well.
Very well put.
All right. So that being said, before we kind of go into the Q&A session, obviously, when we used to do these sessions in person, we would have lunch there and we could kind of congregate and just talk and chit chat, but can't do that right now. So in the meantime, what we're doing is we're sending out meal vouchers for the folks who have, gone through today's entire session. These are your choices here on the left. For those of you that are joining us from Buffalo, we have Manna or we have Taste of Siam. And then those of you that are joining us from the Rochester area, we have Damn Good Chicken and Papa Pot. So all great choices. And it's up to you, whatever you'd like to, wherever you'd like to go for lunch. If you can just put your choice in the chat, please. When you do that, just make sure that you give us your first and last name, just because we have to kind of cross-reference that with the attendance from Zoom. So if your nickname is like Mom or, just P, the letter P, then, it's kind of tough to get you your meal voucher because we're not sure exactly who you are. But we, like I said, we can cross-reference your full name with the Eventbrite checklist and the Zoom checklist. So go ahead and do that for us, folks. And while you're kind of choosing that, just to give you a heads up on some upcoming events, we do have our boot camp for startups has commenced. So Monday was our first session. This is going to be 8 full sessions for boot camp. So this coming up Monday is session number 2. The link here is where you guys can go and register if you have not done so. This is specifically for startups. So if you're either in the idea phase or you're like a brand new startup, this is the class for you. That being said, we also have a forum bi-weekly. This Friday is one of the weeks that we're having it. So it's #FridayForum. You can find that hashtag. That is the registration link that you see there on the screen. This week, again, super just focused on entrepreneurs. This is going to be a fun one because we have 3 panelists on board that actually started their companies during the pandemic. So I know many people, kind of are in that back and forth of should I start, should I not, and then the pandemic hit. So then that, puts people at a little bit more of a hesitation to whether or not, this is the right time. But, like I said, we have 3 panelists, super courageous, great people that took the plunge and, and they're doing great. So definitely join us for that conversation. You might need to hear something in that conversation that sparks that fire in you that makes you decide like, okay, I'm ready. It's now or never, right? So join us for that conversation, folks. Just a reminder, we do send out these slides. And then there's post workshop emails that go out. So the links that, were mentioned in the chat, things like that, we'll go ahead and we'll include those in the post workshop emails as well, just, in case you missed something. All right. And I will send it over again to Letitia and David for Q&As.
Right. Thank you for sticking with us through this. And I hope this information has been beneficial. You know, please comment in the chat any feedback you have for us, what you thought about the workshop, any questions that you have. You can either type in the chat or come off mute and ask your questions if you feel more comfortable speaking them. But now is, you know, the time to get your questions answered.
I actually have one question while we're waiting for some folks to maybe unmute themselves or ask in the chat. How long did it take you both, I would say, to get your business organized? Like when we're talking about documentation and just budgeting, like using apps and things like that, did you start from the beginning? Did you decide to start midway through, or like, how was that process for you both?
I know initially I had an idea of how I wanted to organize my business when I first started, but as my business evolved and I learned more information, like different pieces were added to the puzzle each time. So it kind of evolved with time, but I did have a general idea when I first started how I wanted to do it. And it kind of mirrored what I was already doing with my personal finances. David?
Yeah, we started our business. Feedback there. We started our business, like I said earlier, about 4 years ago, and we kind of got it off the ground from, you know, corporate filing standpoint pretty quickly, because this is the second LLC I've created, and my business partner has run a couple of businesses as well. So we kind of knew what we wanted to do, but we were fortunate enough that I was a 1099 contract employee with a firm in North Carolina for a long lead up time. So that they were basically funding our startup operations, because I had a steady, wasn't a salary, but we had steady income while we put all our ducks in a row and got the business off the ground. During that time, we were developing a marketing strategy. We did logo, business plan, all of that. So it gave us that ramp up time. Months and months.
Awesome, thank you. It looks like there's a question from Barb. It says, does it become easier to start businesses once you do it once? Is it a compulsion or organic?
I would say it's absolutely easier. For us, it was, because we had been down the road. We had an LLC in North Carolina, and we at least were familiar with the mechanics of getting the business bank account set up and the corporate paperwork filed with the Secretary of State, those types of things.
And once you start working for yourself, it's hard to go back working for somebody else.
That is true.
All right, folks, any other questions?
I got one more I wanted to
Awesome.
throw out for everybody. We're going to end on a pop quiz about taxes, okay? Because I know taxes are everyone's favorite topic. So the question is, what's the correct amount of tax we all should be paying? If you want to chat in the window. I don't have any prizes if you get it right, but there is an answer here. What's the correct amount of taxes we all should be paying?
It says 100%.
Adam says 100%. Wow. Ding, 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 ding. Yep. Yeah, I used to work for a really smart CFO in Durham. We like to say, and she gave me this, so I owe Tammy Foley this one. She said that you're supposed to pay not $1 more than you're legally obligated to pay. So that was her approach, which most of you hit on. So
Yes, please do not use the treasury as your savings, your way of saving money. Do not give the IRS more than you need to.
exactly. They don't need an interest-free loan granted by you. They can do just fine on their own.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, I guess with that, we want to go ahead and, thank everyone who participated. Obviously, David and Letitia. We have New Level Strategies, which is David. Financial Longevity, which is Letitia. Again, these folks are here trying to give you as much knowledge as you can, so that you can make it through, right? Like, we want everyone on this call to have successful businesses, whether that means one, or if you are, looking to open 5, whatever the case is, we want you to be successful. So we really do appreciate you joining us on this call. Again, we do expect to see you next week. Same time, so that's 12 p.m. next Wednesday. That is the last session of Money Talks. If you have missed any of the sessions, please go to our YouTube channel. I believe Dion put that in the chat. But again, a lot of the resources that we shared today, it will be going in a post-workshop email. So don't fret, you will definitely get all of the information. Let me see, am I missing anything? Told you about the upcoming events. You hopefully selected your lunch option. Just give us, like 2 days at the most to get those vouchers out to you. It may come sooner, but we didn't forget about you. I think that's it. Letitia and David, if you guys have anything you want to say.
Thank you for sticking with us and for, taking the first step for yourself and your business, or even, just a chance to increase whatever knowledge you already have.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to join us. And we welcome feedback, because we'd like to repeat these seminars probably in the spring or the summer. So however we could have done things differently, or what would you like to see more of? Keeping in mind that Pat Stone's doing a lot of these types of seminars. So bring on that feedback.
Definitely. Don't be shy, folks. We're here. We're here to help you. We don't like listening to ourselves talk. So we want to make sure that everything that we're doing is beneficial to you. So hopefully next class, you folks will be nice and warmed up. We're super excited to hear about your business or your business idea. Get that elevator pitch ready. We need to hear it. This is free advertisement. You don't understand how important that is. So that being said, again, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to our presenters. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.